want answers.
I want the truth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Lies podcast. I'm your host, Georgina Grace, and today I'm so excited because I have the most divine, most beautiful woman and mother. Today we have the incredible Carole Jabbour. Is that how you pronounce it?
Jabbour, it's fine.
Jabbour. I have
Or if you're in Lebanon, Jabbour.
Ooh, how do you say
Bit
it?
more harsh. Yeah.
Jabbour.
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 That's it.
Oh, that feels sexy. Jabbour. So our dear Carole is a ruling 33, 3 and if you know me, you know that I love my 33 energies because I am also a 33 energy. And so already you kind of have a bit of an idea of what you're in for in this podcast, in that Carole is a very divine soul. She is someone who is a highly, highly intuitive human being. And for me, intuition is truth channeled to you from source. And so this 33 energy, I also know what's under your name. So I know that this is just a small piece of your divine pie. This 33 energy tells me that you are someone you are a channeler, and you are constantly channeling truth through to you. And your mission in life is about truth. It's about expressing truth, seeking truth, and creating the freedom for truth. And this is also a very playful energy because truth can be challenging, but the threes want to make it enjoyable and fun. So, you're also an energy that if you're not growing and learning in life, then there's no point doing the thing that you're doing. You are constantly seeking out ways that you can expand yourself, expand your belief system, your life, who you are as a human, and then expand that out to the people in your life also. So I could go on for days and days about how incredible you are, Carole. And I want to start off by saying you are actually the woman behind me. Carole is my business coach, and I actually interviewed a gentleman last night he's a mindset coach and a ruling 33. And one statement that I made is that if you're going to work with a coach, you really want them to be a ruling 33. These people have the ability to cut straight through to your core truth because they are literally channelers of truth. They'll connect to your soul, your truth at a soul level, and work with you for you to discover what your soul truth is so that you can act in accordance with that. Yes. Welcome to the podcast, Carole.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Georgina. What an honor to be here. I'm grateful for your beautiful, kind, generous, very generous words. You're always uplifting, and it's very moving. Thank you. And what's interesting when you talk about numbers and what's important for someone, what was showing up for me in my head straight away was the match with values. Because I love, part of the work I do with my clients, some of the work is identifying someone's values, especially if they're not clear on what they are. And instantly I was like seeing the parallels of, my own values with the numbers you were saying, freedom and growth mindset and wanting to keep evolving, and there's others too, but I love seeing the parallels across different modalities.
That's so cool. So I would love to hear you share a little bit about your journey, because what you do now, so you are a mother, you're a wife, you're a business owner, and you're a coach. Thank you, Lola. Thank you. Yes, girl. She wants to be involved.
Yes. Hi, Lola.
But this didn't happen overnight.
Sure not. No, absolutely not. It's
And
definitely been,
you have actually been many, many different things, haven't you, over your
yep, definitely. It's been quite a journey to come home to myself.
Mm.
So, when I first, I studied biochemistry at uni, totally different realm, which I loved. I loved learning about the absolute, like how much the universe and our individual cells marry up. But I also didn't want to stay in a lab forever. Like I knew I needed to be around people. And I remember saying to my supervisor, he was like, you got to do a PhD. And I'm like, I just can't go down this path. Like I could see others doing it. It wasn't for me. I needed to make a difference to people. And I didn't know how at the time. I was quite young. And I ended up moving to the UK actually, and I lived there for 7 years.
What? I didn't know this.
Yes. So I lived in the UK for 7 years. Initially, I was teaching science at high school for 2 years. It was part of a graduate program supporting disadvantaged kids from impoverished backgrounds, tough areas, etc. And that's for me, that was the job that took my innocence away. Like it was very confronting in a good way. It like helped me mature in a very new way, like to see the level of corruption that's possible in the world. Like my eyes started opening up to that, but I didn't want to stay in that environment. So after 2 years, I'm like, that's not going to be my future either. And then I discovered, because of my health background, with biochem, I discovered, healthcare marketing, healthcare, education, healthcare, communication. And I ended up staying in that sphere for quite a number of years. So basically, growing businesses in that area, and whether it's digital, whether it's turning sales material into online training, whether it's, sales pitches. I got to pitch across like in Switzerland and Italy. It was really cool. It was really fun at the time. And I was just wanting to learn more and more and more in this sphere and this commercial side that using my knowledge. But all along, I remember saying to my uncle when I was really young, I was maybe like 19, 20, just saying to him, I just want to make a difference to people. And he's like, but you got to have skills. I'm like, he's right. You do have to have skills, to share. So I think my 20s was really building up my skill set. And then getting to a point, I moved back to Melbourne, met my partner, who we now, we have a family together, and continued down that path. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, Julia, it became really clear to me that I didn't want to live the typical 9 to 5 corporate life. Like that need for freedom and to be present and available for my child was so big. So I reached out to my community and asked if they know of anyone who might need my skill set working from home. And that's where Regare, who you and I actually met through, I ended up, working for his firm, which was a high performance business coaching firm for 5 years as his COO. So that was an excellent time for me to really keep growing my skills in the business field, but working directly with business owners.
Mm.
I just loved that so much, really cementing and grounding what I was learning in the big corporate world into more of the small to medium-sized businesses and bringing people's dreams to life. And at some point, I think in 2020, during, the lockdowns, I
Mm.
had this like vision that would never leave me. And I kept resisting it to like run online women's circles. It was just this, oh my God, I need to do this, but I resisted it. And then a phone call with someone made me realize how much it was needed. And so it became more about servicing this person's need than my getting out of my own way.
Mm.
And running that first online circle at the time, it was like when it finished, I felt this just white light emanating from my heart that I'd actually never felt before, of absolute pure clarity that holding safe space for people is absolutely part of my journey and part of my purpose.
Mm.
And I started, working one-on-one with people, not in a sort of official capacity, but I just started doing it because I had such desire and thirst for it. And because of doing that, I actually got my first client. Like she literally said to me, can you please be my person? I need you to be still my client, all this time later. Can you please be my person, as she called it? And it was just like it was like the universe just said, yes, you're on the right path. Let's keep going. And so from there, like I've been so fortunate to have, you know, referrals just keep coming and being of service to people in this way, like really one-on-one, intimate where I'm conversations and relationships where I fully have like my clients' backs, both from the internal perspective, like all the fears and blocks that show up for us, and just being that person who can hear them, decipher them, support them. But then also like how can we bring to life your externally the dreams that you have in your heart in a, in a business sense. Typically, most of my clients are business owners. So how can we create this life that you want, that you dream of in a way that feels good to you? So yeah, long answer to your question.
No, no, that's perfect. That's really, really perfect. And it's so fascinating the journey that you have been on. And I love, love, love when things like that happen. And it's such a confirmation of, yeah, this is what I'm meant to be doing when things seemingly fall in your lap, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah, for sure.
it's so interesting because people, and I'm speaking very generally here, but people can tend to feel a lot of fear when it comes to actually stepping into their truth. I know I did.
100%.
Um, even doing this podcast was something that I'd been, sitting on for quite some time and finally just biting the bullet. It was so scary because you know my story, speaking out, speaking up, being heard, listened to, like this is so triggering, but all the while knowing that it is part of my truth. And we think it's going to be so hard, so, so, so hard because in my experience, it's like we've got so much evidence of doing life the hard way, paddling against the waves. And so we're used to that. We're used to that being how it is. We have to work really hard to get the results that we really want.
Mm.
But what I've experienced, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is that when I've surrendered to my ultimate truth and what I'm supposed to be doing, those things that I can't explain why I'm doing, but just the knowing that I need to do them,
Yes.
things literally, it's like miracles. Things fall in my lap. Just, yeah, it's just been so easy.
100%. And it's not something you can explain rationally or in
Mm-mm.
any kind of tangible equation. It's more of a once you do it and experience it for yourself, it becomes like this inner knowing. That's how energy works. And yeah, similarly, when I expressed that the online women's circle and I ran a few more, it was more discovering holding space in a really safe, loving space is aligned for me. And if we follow the breadcrumbs of alignment where we feel in flow, then we totally get to this other place of that's where I'm meant to be, like that's my purpose. And if we're just willing and courageous to take a step forward in that direction and discover, we like witness ourselves in a whole new way. And I think what's scary sometimes is reinventing ourselves or putting ourselves out there to be seen is often confronting because it does bring up our limiting beliefs that, what all the things that often show up whenever we're expanding. It's very normal.
Mm.
Um, but it's just bringing like, awareness that that is part of the process. We can't expand if we don't feel this way. Actually, that means I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. The fact that I'm feeling all this fear, it means this really matters to me.
Mm.
What support can I get to take like a tiny step forward? Like you releasing that first episode was huge. It was massive.
Yeah.
You know, on the outside, we could say, oh, it's just one episode. But actually, it was that act was just this massive, propelling momentum forward in the
Yeah,
direction I love. Like, play with me.
I know. Sorry, girl, not now. Yes, it was really, really massive, but it was that and oh my gosh, I still have not watched it back. I can't watch it back. I know the whole time I was looking down, I wasn't even looking at the camera, and I really wanted to, there was such a big part of me that wanted to re-record it and do it better and look at the camera and, say the right things and make more sense, be more clear and more,
Yes, perfect.
yeah, exactly, like professional. And oh, it was so, so challenging for me not to do that. And but I noticed this like ball of energy here, feeling the fear of oh, this is who I really am. This is my real story. This is what it really is like for me. The things that I was feeling as I was sharing it is really real for me.
Yes.
And I'm kind of like a bit of an extremist in the sense that if I'm going to do it, I may as well do it
I love that.
the most extreme version or the most intense, the most full-on version, So ultimately, this is for my healing. But through that, through my own healing, I know others will heal at the same time.
100%.
Yeah, and the name of the podcast is a triple nine. I mean, a triple R, which correlates to a nine energy. Nines are the healers, the energetic healers. And so I was like, well, far out. I'm just gonna have to push submit and just not
Yes.
look, the scariest thing.
There's so much magic when, like, you've honored yourself so much by releasing this podcast, particularly that first episode, right? Like, it's such a statement of I'm honoring me and myself and my story publicly. And I think whenever we do that, I think like usually two things happen, like people will be so inspired and like confronted by any side of them that isn't being honored as well, and be inspired to take action there. And then there'll be others who are too confronted and it's too painful because it's a reflection of the part that they really desire to have honored but can't have access to right now.
Mm,
I think it's a testament to like what's possible. Like just taking that action and honoring you is healing, is so healing. Like
mm,
it's literally, what more is there to do? Why not? We have such a short life. We're like a blip of time in this universe.
mm,
Why not? Sometimes I just try to remind myself about the dimensions, because when something feels really scary, and just taking away all that pressure of who cares? Who cares what people think? Who cares what this is going to sound like? How
mm,
will I feel on the other side of this? I'll be so
mm.
proud of myself. I'll feel like you're literally rewiring your brain with this new action, right? You're creating like a new version of yourself.
Yeah, completely. And it's funny, even like creating a new version of myself is really all that. It's not actually a new version. It is just who I actually am and have always been, but have been too frightened to show the world. And had I had, and I think the world right now, we live in such an edited reality. Like everything we see is edited. Everything has been cut or, got a filter on it. And it's really, really important to me to show up as real and not edited. And, so, but by having that be like my statement, first episode, it has also like set the bar for me in the sense that, well, I now can't go backwards. I now can't go and, try
Yeah.
and be a little bit more polished or
Yes.
all the
Fully
different.
embracing the edges.
So now essentially I've just given myself permission to just be, which is,
What is
and
it like for you?
yeah. And I think the thing that's so important to me is that people feel safe.
Yeah.
Because people feel safe, and this is obviously my three energy talking, but if people feel safe,
Yes.
um, then they can show up as their true selves.
I 100% like hear you on that. And also why Loving Cocoon was the name that just came to me for my business. Exactly the same. Like for me personally, I've never been able to shift anything in my life unless first and foremost the step is utter safety.
Mm,
Like utter safety with the person I'm, working through with this thing. If I feel safe, then anything they say I'm open to. But if I don't, then it's really difficult for me to move forward.
mm,
And that's why it's so important for me too, like that my clients do have a loving cocoon. It's a very, very safe, sacred space. And it's a vault. Like what people share with me is a vault. It doesn't go anywhere else. And then from there, we can start to expand and like, how do we put in the foundations for your business in a way that's going to support you moving forward? But I
mm.
love that. It's true. Maybe it is the three energy. I wonder if other energies, like for them, it's like, well, who needs safety? You know?
Well, I love as well, Carol, that loving cocoon. It's an L and a C. Both of those letters are three.
Are they actually?
Yes.
And my name is a C as well. That's too funny.
Yes,
Oh
such
dear.
alignment. It's so beautiful. But I really loved, you said something, I can't remember how far back it was, but you said the breadcrumbs of alignment. Can you expand on that? Because that just created such a beautiful image for me that I haven't heard it be expressed in that way. But I love, 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 love that. But I would love for you to like, what does the following the breadcrumbs of alignment look like or could look like in reality for you?
Well, I think for me, it's like I picture when and certainly me in my younger years, in my 20s, feeling very, very lost. Even though I was doing all these things externally, internally, I was very lost, not feeling like I was living my true alignment as such, or what my purpose is, what my job on this earth really is to do, outside of
Mm.
these external jobs. So how do we follow the breadcrumbs? It's when we get a little inkling to of something that makes our heart just expand. And there's just like, oh, I'd really love to do that. That's a little like sign, a little breadcrumb. Even if that thing isn't the thing, it's taking you to the thing because there's an element about that your heart is really aligned with. It matches your values, it matches what you're looking for in life. So like I think just trusting that it doesn't have to be the thing and not over analyzing the thing, but trusting the feeling of, oh, that's it. There's something about this that is in alignment. So let me go explore that. And I believe if we explore that, then it will lead us to the next breadcrumb, which will lead us even closer and closer till eventually we get to a point where we go, oh my God, this is exactly who I am and what I'm meant to be doing. At
Mm.
least that's been my personal journey. For others, it's like they're instantly, really clear from very early days what their purpose is and what they're here to do. But if for anyone out there who's not and is very confused, that's what I would say. Like, there is never going to be this one big answer necessarily if you're in that place, but you will always have little signs of your heart going boom, like, oh, like I knew at uni I needed to work with people, but I didn't know how. And I was, learning was a very big thing in my 20s. Like, all I wanted to do was follow learning, expanding, learning new things. And then it was really clear I just wanted to work with people one-on-one in intimate spaces, but I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to be expressed. And just like following the little breadcrumbs, like the women's circle isn't what I do now. Like I don't run just women's circle, but it was a sign to wanting to hold safe space, right? Like, so just follow the breadcrumb and you'll eventually get to your place where you feel home,
Mm.
like from the inside out.
It's so, so beautiful. And there's so many people who are at that space where they are like in the lives that they've created for themselves based on a prior version of who they are or prior version of who they think their environment wants them to become. But they have this like heart pulling sensation of something else is there, but I don't know what it is or where to even start. But um, I think what you're saying is the importance of giving that a voice, giving that, putting a microphone to
Right.
that little, you
Explore it, be curious.
explore it, look and see, and what could it be? And I, so I just want to confirm what you just said with science. I recently read a little study. I mean, it's not a little study, but sometimes I like to do this where I like to actually read studies and stuff that interest me. And this one was about scientists wanted to see, um, they wanted to see if the heart was intuitive, the human heart, whether it could actually predict the future.
Hmm.
And so what they did in the study was they had like a group of people and they sat them in front of a screen and they would show different images on the screen and they would be a range of images. A lot of them would be some that would trigger the heart to increase in.
Right.
Yes, thank you. It's rate. It's heart rate.
Heartbeats going faster.
Yeah. So there would be images of like, gory images or very sexual images or, like this. But then there would be some neutral images like a bowl of fruit or, all this kind of stuff. And as they were going through the images, they were obviously monitoring the person's heart rate. And what they noticed was yes, the heart definitely responds to the image, but when they really looked into it further, they realized that the heart rate would increase before they saw the image.
Hmm.
And the person wouldn't know what image was coming.
But it wouldn't for a bowl of fruit before it's shown.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? So it's like the heart can
Knowing.
actually
Mm. Mm.
predict the future, and that heart space intuition is 100% something that we need to actually feel into and trust wholeheartedly because it knows truth.
For
Isn't that
sure.
wild?
It is so wild.
I
It is
mean,
so
it's
wild. Like, yes, 100%. Our heart is so amazing. Like, there's another aspect to the heart, just sort of like completely off track.
oh,
But
please tell me. I want all this, all the
but I just,
segues.
it's so beautiful. Like, especially us as mothers who, well, parents, some parents can typically, when we start our journey, like we'll put ourselves last. But if we look at the heart, its function is to beat oxygenated blood throughout the body. Hey, Lola, what's she interested in?
I just don't want her to get the shooting fork.
Yes, that wouldn't be fun for her
Please,
heart.
please continue. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So the heart, its job is to beat oxygenated blood around the body. But what does it do? It gives itself the fresh oxygen first. So, the lungs fill up with air, but it nurtures itself first so it can then go and do its job. And I think like I wish I'd learnt that at the beginning of my mothering journey. It would have saved me so much pain. Although I'm not sure I would have really heard it at the time, you know. Not really sure. I had to learn that the hard way, but it is really profound. Like we can't like the whole oxygen mask first, but I love it from a biological perspective, You actually cannot be of service to the rest of your body or your community or your people if you do not put yourself first.
Mm,
Create that space for you, nurture you, honor you, and the rest emanates. You become of more service.
mm.
The heart is amazing.
The heart is really amazing. That is so cool. You literally have to serve your heart first.
There's no other option. You can't bypass the heart if you want to be of service.
But how challenging is that in reality?
But the practice, especially when you're a parent and the needs are constantly in front of you, like your children's needs never stop, right? Especially in the way we live these days, there really are minimal support. It's not intrinsic in our society that there's support. I
Mm,
worked with a beautiful girl from Tanzania when I was working with Regari, and she helped us with some marketing. And it was so profound. So she's a single mum raising her child. However, you'd think that would be really hard. She's got her two brothers who step up and do the things when she's working, doing her Upwork, online freelancing. They step up, look after the child. She's got neighbors that they'll just look after the child. It's just like normal. The whole village helps each other. And I couldn't help but think, we live in such an abundant country, and yet we're suffering with so much loneliness at times
mm,
in certain circumstances. And it's only since becoming a mother that I have been able to see this side of our society. And you have to really push to create a community, particularly for us. Like my parents live quite far from us, and my sister's in another state, and my partner's family are all in another country. So it depends on your scenario. For some people, this isn't the case, and everyone lives together and communally, and it's fine.
mm,
There are many of us, particularly people who have traveled across the world and met partners from different countries. It's a whole other reality. And you
mm.
have to really fight to create your community and let go and trust your kids and other people's care. At least for me, I found that really difficult.
Totally. Like that is oh, yeah, that is a scary thing. Like we were never meant to. It's so funny because there's such a duality to it. It's so on one hand, we were never meant to raise our babies in isolation. It was at tribal times, those children were the succession of the tribe. So it was the tribe's responsibility, to care and nurture and feed and all of the stuff.
Hmm.
So there's that part of it, but then on the other part of it, we live in a society now where uh women and mothers particularly will tend to feel guilty for asking for help
Yeah.
and support for their children because it's, oh, but they're my children, and it's up to me. And so it's really hard. I've been finding a lot with mothers that I know that doing that, reaching out, asking for help is actually the hardest thing.
It is, and it's multi-layered, I think. I think first the asking of help is like the first level, but I think there's more levels to it because it depends on the person you're asking and what they're capable of. It depends on your child's needs and if you think that person can actually support them. I feel like there's sometimes more than one level, but
Mm,
first step of just like being vulnerable and open and authentic with our relationships and going, I'm struggling, like actually just saying, I actually
mm,
need help and reaching out like makes a world of difference. You know, at one point, I reached total burnout maybe two years ago. Like I've never been burnt out before, but I actually went through absolute burnout, and that was 100% the result of not noticing the signs or ignoring the signs, I should say, of needing support and thinking I can do it all.
mm,
And it was such a great experience, actually, because I now pick up on the signs way earlier and take action. Whereas it took me to burnout to realize, and took me to surrender and like speaking to a counselor on the phone and sharing with her my experience and her like being, this is what's going to happen. Duh,
mm,
duh, duh, duh. You need time away from your kids. She found me like a respite place. I spoke to my boss at the time. He gave me 2 months off work, which is unbelievable, really like unbelievable. And, we ordered home cooked meals. We just put in place some more things. I went and got blood tests. I had so many deficiencies. Like that's what became clear.
mm,
I've never been deficient in that many things. And as soon as I supplemented those things, I literally returned back to myself. It's like my machinery just shut down, but I had no space and time or hadn't created space and time to nurture and explore. And as soon as, I just was like, okay, this isn't going to work. So the blood test, the naturopath, the counseling, the time for myself, the reaching out and just saying I need help. Like that was the scariest thing, but just saying I actually need help very quickly it can turn around. And now it shapes. I cannot parent on my own. Like that's been a really big journey for me. I remember when my daughter was first born, I found it really, really difficult to surrender her to anybody,
mm,
even close family. And
mm,
that's so hard to admit, but that was my internal experience at the time.
mm.
It was like, how do I give my child to anybody? It was so difficult.
Totally.
It was so difficult at the time.
Totally. Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I didn't know that. I was very confronted by it, but I was like a tigress. No one could get in my way.
Mm.
I
It's
look back, I'm like, oh, Carole.
no, it's so,
Yes,
there are
Mum.
so many mothers in that very place right now, including myself, actually. It's something I've been very, very fierce about. Like, no, 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 nobody, nobody.
Mm,
And exactly what you said, I didn't expect it. I had no idea that this is what was coming, but with my history,
yes, absolutely.
and just in general, I think when you become a mum, all of your past trauma, and especially if you have any mother wounds, father wounds,
Just
anything
in
like
your face.
it is just full blown in your face. And
Totally.
so there's that happens, but then add to that all of the
Mm,
sexual trauma and all of this stuff. It's so intense. And when you're someone who's grown up with that awareness of this is a real thing that happens in the world, it's not those creepy dudes that you see walking down the street, it's the family members, it's the people you know most. Like, this is something that is so, I'm literally working through this right now with my therapist because we are at the point in our family structure where we cannot do this alone. We cannot do it alone. My husband's starting to go completely insane. I'm going completely insane. And then, of course, our son is going insane as well. And so it is just not working.
yeah.
And, but it is so hard. It is so, so, so hard. Like the idea of having someone else be with him alone,
Mm,
I can't tell you what that does in my body. So I completely and utterly feel the space that you were in. And I look forward to having more freedom around that and more space around that. I'm definitely taking it um like in the little steps that I know I need to take it. I can't just go, all right, tomorrow someone new and like
No.
there's a
Mm.
process and working to that. But I am now. Like it was a big deal for me to just firstly recognize and acknowledge the fact that this is actually not working for anybody.
Yes, it's counterproductive. What I'm thinking I'm offering my child is not, I'm not offering my child.
Exactly. And that is so, because obviously I'm seeing the signs, but I
Mm.
can't at the same time see the signs because I'm like, no, no, no one else, no one else.
Yes.
So it's such a big thing. And also, as you were sharing that, I was thinking about business.
Mm.
I was thinking about business because starting a business and having a business is very similar to having a baby. It is something that you need to grow and you birth, then you nurture and you grow and it's constantly changing and expanding and there's so many moving parts to business that uh and there's this concept, this idea that, well, you've just started a business, so that means, we're not going to see you ever. And, you just expect to work every second of the day. And people have this expectation that that's what it's like when you start a business, except it doesn't have to be that way. And this is something that I really appreciate about the way that you work in your coaching and your support. Every time I say coaching, for me, it's more like just support. It's absolute support because we have had coaching sessions where we've almost not even talked about business. It has just literally been, what are
Depends
you
on what it
doing?
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's there in the present? Absolutely.
yeah, and how is that impacting and, your view of yourself and your ability, we talking something that you have, I like to say you've been on my back about, but it's a good thing. It's about my prices and my worth and what I think I deserve and all of this kind of stuff. And so that having those conversations, while yeah, it's about a practical business thing called prices and income and money and blah, 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 blah. But what it's really pointing to is myself and what I think about myself and my
Yeah.
worthiness and all of that stuff. And so, why am I sharing all of this? Because we cannot do it alone. And
No.
so,
Yes.
reaching out to you after 2 months of being in business was terrifying because I'm like,
You saying how scared you were.
I
Yeah.
was so scared. I was so scared. I'm like, I don't know. What was I so scared of like it was taking it seriously, actually acknowledging that yes, I'm in business and yes, I'm making an income and yes, like this is a real thing that I need to.
Sorry. Hope you cut that bit out.
Oh, you're so divine.
I have a coughing fit happening. I'm really sorry.
It's
Sorry.
okay. It's totally fine. It's the most gracious coughing fit I've ever seen. Um, But yeah, so it was really like terrifying for me to do that because I still was not even in the reality of this is a viable business,
Yes.
but
I hear you. But taking that step forward of, oh, it's going to be real now. I'm committing dollars and time to making this real. And you know what's amazing about you is that you do take big, bold action. Like that is 100% one of your strength. You take massive, big, bold action very quickly.
mm,
Even if we go back to the chat about parenting and noticing that your wounds from childhood are showing up in your decision making with your child right now and taking the action to seek therapy. There's many people who wouldn't do that. They would either continue on the way they are, feeling the pain, but you're being responsible.
mm,
and you've looked at your life and what your dreams are, your big vision for your life, your big dream. Like that to me, I have that seared into my mind and my heart, what your big dream is for your life. And you've taken action, like, I'm going to make this work. How can I make this work? Even though it's scary. And every time we talk, I'm just blown away by the amount of progress you've made. Like it is profound, profound, truly profound. Like there is not much that can get in your way, even though that may not be your internal experience. But I'm just reflecting to you how you show up. And
Mm.
I'm loving that you're actually looking at how you can implement supports because 100% you're raising your business and you're raising your child and you have your relationship with your partner. Like there's just so much going on, let alone your own individual needs. So the more I'm finding, the more support I can implement in our life, the more spaciousness there is, just the more calm, the more relaxed. But it's taken me a long time to take action. It took me a long time. There was so much resistance because of the fear of it should be me, like all these standards that I absorbed from wherever, but not from me. They came from outside of me. And I
Mm.
think that's part of the art of like getting back to alignment as well, like shedding the external noise and first identifying, is that me or is that external to me? Is that, and first like noticing what is you, who you are, and what is someone else's voice. And then when you identify that, it's actually like letting that go and honoring your voice. And the
Mm.
more we can do that, like it took me a while with parenting to realize I had this voice in my head saying I should be doing it, or I'm the mother, I know best, truly believe that. And what I actually see now is I am not the best at this. Like if I do this on my own, I will be the worst at this.
Mm.
And I had to actually experience that in a really hard way.
Mm.
And now there's like more spaciousness. For example, my youngest started kindy this year, and he hadn't been in care up until this year. And what I've learned from that journey is, whilst it's been really difficult for him and for us, up and down like a roller coaster, his adjustment to it, what I really came to realize is it is so profoundly helpful to his well-being. He has a space now outside of the home that he calls his own, that he has beautiful relationships with his educators and friends. That's actually like a space of peace for him outside the home. And before I thought that was, the home is everything. But actually, no, the more spaces that we have as people that we can go to, the richer our lives are and the wider the community is. And just surrendering, even though, an educator doesn't do things the way I would do things, being open and curious, maybe that's actually a really good thing. Maybe that's what my child needs right now. Not being so like fixated on it being a certain way. Again, that curiosity and openness is such an access to freedom. And
Mm.
I'm so grateful that he is there now. It's taken a while. It's taken a lot of commitment on our time to help him adjust,
Mm.
but he's richer for it, and so are we.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really, really, really valuable. And it's absolutely, absolutely true that the way that we make our children feel ultimately safe is showing them that there are many places in the world and people that are safe.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Carole. You see,
It's hard,
everybody,
isn't it?
this is why she's so incredible at being a coach because she cuts straight through to the core, but dresses it up in the most beautiful and profound and empowering, inspiring and nurturing and vulnerable way that it's impossible for you to go, yes, that's true. Ugh, okay.
No, I don't want it to be true.
It's also really powerful because if you can ultimately be that way with your children, your babies, right?
Mm,
When you can let go of that control, let go and surrender to actually their needs and allowing other people to show up for them in their own expression
mm.
and all of this kind of stuff, then where can't you do that in life?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, there's
like
so
it's
much liberation in that, you
so
know.
much liberation. And that definitely comes through your coaching as well, right? Like for me, there are many things that you and I would probably do very, very differently. that you are so nurturing and like, okay, that's how you need to do it. Good. Do it that way. And what does that provide for you? And you ask me questions that I sometimes when people ask me questions about why I'm doing things a certain way, I can hear that as judgment.
Mm.
But when you do that for me, I hear it as curiosity, like, oh, this is really interesting. Tell me more about this. And oh, and so what does that then give? And how does that work? And like it's so nurturing. I just keep coming back to the freaking
Thank you.
nurturing because it is who you are, right? But
I
yeah.
do. There isn't one way. There isn't like it's interesting you share that. I don't believe there's one answer to everyone. Like I don't believe in telling people this is how you should do things. I really believe we are our own best healers, number one. And
Mm,
I think that there are being curious as to what kind of life that person is craving for, and therefore, how do we build that? Because everyone's dreams are different, right? But what I do have as an underpinning all of it is the foundations. Internal honoring of oneself, but also external for the business, making sure the foundations are in place, because that gives us safety to create it in whichever way we want. What I mean by foundations is, the things we've talked about, the practical things around setting up, looking after your business like a baby. You look after your baby, you feed them, you keep them warm, you do all those things, but our businesses are the same. Do we have all areas covered instead of like hoping for the best? From a structural perspective, from a finance perspective, from a time and energy perspective, are we burning ourselves out that our baby's not going to have someone to care for them? Are we overworking? Or have we
mm,
got the foundations in place? Have we got all areas covered? Our insurances, do we have a profitable business? Those things, whilst they might seem, are actually core to our freedom. But how
mm,
you then grow your business is up to you, right? Like
mm.
it has to feel aligned for you. Otherwise, you're going to be like, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
know?
and that's so great because that's one of the things that you introduced pretty early is the foundations. And it, you're not just speaking blah blah blah. You're actually this is true. I couldn't
Oh my God.
I couldn't think of the word, so I just
Welcome to your blah, blah, blah coaching session. Oh, so good.
in songs where they don't know that there's no
Love it.
lyrics, it's just like la 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 la. It's like I don't know the words, so blah blah
Just
blah.
fill it up. What my kids do when they sing their songs.
Oh, it's so good. But yeah, one of the first things that you sent me a spreadsheet. You all know how much I love a spreadsheet.
You're filling it out. It's amazing.
Yeah, but you had to change the spreadsheet for me so that I could fill it out because
Love that. Yeah.
the original spreadsheet was so, for me, it was like, oh, no thanks,
Yeah.
too much, too overwhelming.
Mm.
But this is huge. This is really huge. And it can sound like something really small, like, oh, yeah, you just changed it and that, but actually, I, in the past, if I had gotten something like that and I was asked to fill this in and do this, and I would have had such an internal response to it, reaction, like, this is really hard. My brain can't get around what this is and these details and little cells and all of the things. And it's just so actually overwhelming to look at because what is this thing?
Yeah.
Um, However, in the past, I would have grit my teeth, smiled, and be like, okay, I'll do it. And then that process of doing that would have been so painful for me. And
Mm.
it would have been a source of building resentment over time, which then, would have filtered out into other areas of my business and life, of course. And so something so small like this is such a massive deal. And to you, I never even considered the option of we could change the spreadsheet to make it feel good for me. That was not even a consideration. Like is that something that can ever happen? I
Mm,
really was like,
mm,
that just wasn't even on my horizon whatsoever. And you saying that, there was a reaction, an immediate reaction that was like, oh, does she think I'm stupid? Does she think I'm not capable? Does she think all this stuff? But then I realized not long after, like that was the initial reaction, but then um you did it in a way that was so nurturing that my nervous system immediately relaxed and calmed down. And when I saw, like, as we changed it, it was just like, oh my goodness, this is actually so good. I can do this. I can actually do this. And it doesn't have to be painful or whatever it was gonna about to be. And so I just think I really wanted to share that further because yeah, it can seem like such a small thing. Oh, just change the spreadsheet.
mm,
That is not a small thing. That is so, 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 so big because it's your ability to really, like I said at the beginning, connect to the other person's soul and really feel them and feel their needs and feel what will really empower and support them with where they're at in that moment and not being like that sense of hierarchy. Well, this is how I do things, so this is how you need to do things. Being like, this is something you've created and being willing to totally throw it out the window or change it completely for what actually suits the other person. Like that's so big. That is so, so big. And so I wanted to share that to acknowledge you and thank you for that because it's provided so much space and freedom. And knowing that at the end of the day, you actually have my back in
mm.
whatever crazy thing I need or do or am or feel or whatever it is. Like you really have my back. And that's
Thank you so much. It's really to hear from that angle. Um, I think it's like this fine when we're working with people so intimately, it's always this dance of trying to determine is the thing they're up against, a really core limiting belief that we need to support, or is it actually the environment and what we're offering that's the issue? And it's just always a fine dance between trying to work out where the support is required.
Mm.
And really, like, I just was reflecting on what's the intention of this spreadsheet? Like, if there's overwhelm, and I also knew the history of spreadsheets for you, right? So
Yes.
knowing all of that, I'm like, I don't want to bring that into your business in any way, shape, or form. Like, I want to put that aside. We're not bringing that energy here. And it was just around, actually, this isn't a limiting belief thing. This is actually, I don't want to bring this energy in. Let's make this exciting and fun. How can we simplify this whole thing, right?
Yeah, because
I was
it
but
was
it
a
worked.
full blown, sorry to interrupt you. When you said about my history of spreadsheets, people be like, what? My history, like far out spreadsheet. Uh,
So traumatic.
but so just to quickly address that, I actually worked for a company where spreadsheets was something that I had to do, and and it was actually, I developed a form of PTSD from having to fill out these spreadsheets. And if I got anything wrong or missed anything or
Mm,
whatever the case, I would get absolutely annihilated for doing that. And so these spreadsheets are actually a source of trauma, actually trauma for me.
mm,
And so when you first introduced me to the spreadsheet, I just, the memory of all of those times just totally flooded over me. And so, yeah, it was a really, really big deal. So, yes, thank
mm.
you. Please continue with what you were saying. Sorry for interrupting.
That was it, basically. That was it. I'm grateful that we found a way so that now you can re-engage with spreadsheets for the purpose of growing your business and bringing clarity and awareness. Really, like, what's the point, right? What are we feeling? It's to bring clarity and awareness and to have a level of planning involved that
Mm.
before would have just been like overwhelming and unknown. And so it's just simplifying it. But we don't have to have it in a particular way. We just need it in the way that works for the individual. I'm
Oh,
learning a lot with my kids too. Like, it's how do I it's such a journey. Parenting, I actually think parenting is harder than growing a business, personally. But that's we can debate that. But I think with children, it's how can I transform the environment to suit them because often they're reacting to the environment.
mm.
which is difficult because in a family unit where all of us have needs, we want the environment a particular way, they need it a particular way. And then we come together, the unit needs it in a particular way. And it's this constant dance of evaluating where things are at and whose needs are most urgent. And how do I put things in place right here, right now versus long-term solutions? It's this constant evaluation and adjustment. And
Mm,
that's why it's difficult to do that evaluation when we're doing it alone. Because when we're
mm.
doing it alone, we're just boom, 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 reacting versus creating and planning.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Could you share about being a mum and being in business?
And from what perspective specifically?
Like, so there's the whole part of the reason why I started a business was because I wanted to put the needs of my son first and live my life based around my needs as a mother, supporting the needs of my son, and working for someone else on someone else's time just didn't suit that.
Yes.
However, being in business as a mum
Yeah. I,
and you have one human child, you have a business child, but within that business you have many children that you are nurturing and taking care of, and like your the brain space and capacity, how much of your brain is taken up by all of the things that you constantly need to think about and hold space for all of the different clients that you have, and the background procedures that you need, and the foundations, but then also the future visions for your business and where you want to take things. But then there's also your children at home and, being pulled in that direction. And there's such a huge part of me that would absolutely love to just, I know this may not be the case for everybody, but I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. I would like, I have so much fun spending
Mhm.
my time with my son, and we really, really love spending time together, and we just play and we explore, and it's so, so, so fun. Um, and there's a really big part of me that feels like he would love that too, just getting all of me all the time. And so there's a layer of guilt that comes when I actually also really enjoy running my business, and I enjoy having time away from him to do my business and to serve my clients and to read for people and this podcast and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like they're both my children.
Yeah.
And there's guilt when I'm spending time with the other one. And
Mm.
like when I'm with my son, but I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, can you please hurry up and go to sleep so I can respond to this client? Or like the push and pull of being a mum and in business,
Yes. It's real.
it's real.
I think it is real. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that if you're mothering and resisting the other side of you, we're not actually honoring all of you. So you're not showing up as full Georgina, right? So your son's going to see a person who is resenting that imagine you've surrendered that side of you and said, okay, I'm just going to stop all of that. I'm just going to be a stay-at-home mom. What version of you will he get? He'll get a stay-at-home mom who loves being with him, but has this yearning that is not being fulfilled.
Mm,
There comes the resentment. Now that's real resentment because
mm,
that part of you is not being nurtured in any way, shape, or form. And my assertion is that you probably show up as a better mom as long as you can bring consciousness to your time with your son and your time in your business, that this is what I'm here to do. And when that finishes, I'm then in the next zone. But my assertion is that you show up better in both spaces because both parts of you are being honored. Both parts of you need to exist. And the dance is around how do I make sure one isn't trying to take over? How do I grow my business in a way that's sustainable while I'm in this season of my life? You've got a young son. He's not going to be young forever. But in this season of your life, he is young and you do have this desire to spend time with him. So
mm,
that's got to be honored. And how do we make sure your business continues to grow and thrive in a way that's not going to totally take over this side of you, but is sustainable so you can enjoy this season of life while knowing this is growing? Do you know what I mean? And not putting pressure on ourselves for it to become something maybe that you're not ready yet for it to become, or it's not ready yet to become, but knowing it's going to get there, 100% is going to get there.
Mm.
Like it's this constant, push and pull, as you call it. I love that. It's true. But the push and pull means you're honoring both sides of you and you're not abandoning a side of you.
There's so much that we think about, consider, you know, constantly. Like it's not just about what his needs are in that moment or for this period of time, whether he needs a new set of clothes or some gum boots or blah, blah, blah. It's not just about the actual active needs there or the actual active needs of the business. It's also the overarching theme of where do I want that to go? What kind of mother do I want to be so that I can,
Yes.
and how do I create my business to support the kind of mother that I want to be? And what about my duties as a wife? Like that's really important as well because I can't neglect that. But that is so easy to neglect because when you become a mum, as controversial as it may be, that relationship with your husband becomes number two. It doesn't, it's no longer number one anymore. You at a hormonal level, you are living and breathing for this human.
Yeah, I
Everything.
understand that. I,
Yeah.
I've been through that and I've had to learn the hard way, the cost of that. It's a huge toll on the family to continue down that path because
Mm,
what I've learned the hard way is when the parents who are like bringing the family together, when they're not solid, everything falls apart. When they are solid, things just work more seamlessly. So actually, it's almost prioritizing me first, our relationship first, and then the children, which is counterintuitive to everything that our instinct wants to do,
mm,
especially in the early years. Um, but I've found when we're in a space where that's the order of events, actually the children's needs are less. They don't have as many needs because they feel safe and secure in their home. It's crazy. Everyone's needs need to be met, but it's very difficult.
yeah.
I think there's a piece that around taking time to acknowledge just how much we're doing. Like what you just described there, the mental load, it's not just the doing of the thing, it's the thinking and the planning of the thing times, 1,000 things in any area of your life. And it's just taking stock of we are in the mother season of our life, where we're of service, being responsible for others. We're in the mother season of our life. It is the most creative time of our life.
Mm,
And therefore, it's going to be filled with lots of busyness and thoughts and planning. But that's part of where we're at. It's the joy,
mm,
right? Like there'll
mm,
come a season where we're not in that season of our life and we'll have, the Maga season, as they call it, which is the careless responsibility. Like you can be responsible, but not as much. We're in the thick of it. This is the season of our life where we are responsible for so much. So
mm,
just taking time to really take stock and acknowledge, I'm doing a great job. I'm doing the best I can. You are growing your business exponentially. You're
mm,
showing up daily on Instagram and on your socials. You're communicating with your clients. You've invested in a business coach. You're in the work of healing your past. You are in the conversation of how do I make sure my relationship is doing well. You're thinking about your child's needs. You're thinking about your health needs. Like that is profound.
mm.
Like just taking a moment to go, I effing rock right now. And it's
Oh my
perfect
gosh.
in the way.
Yes. And just wait till we have our actual session. Why I say actual session is because this is almost like what our coaching sessions are like. So, which is great because it's perfect. It gives people a real like insight into what it really is like to be not only work with you, but connect with you and be in your sphere and be in your loving cocoon.
Where did your mind go? Oh,
Carol,
look on your face, Georgina.
there was no look. You had a look.
Oh, dear.
Your mind went there, not mine. I don't know. I never go there. Where is there? I don't even know there's a there.
Oh, dear Lord.
So funny. Um, but yeah, That's great. Thank you very much for saying all of those incredible things. And I could equally say all of the things to you because you are also doing a lot and thinking about a lot. And you also rock.
From one rock to another.
Oh, Carol, this has been so, so, so delicious. I'm
Mhm.
so glad that we have done this. I look forward to doing many more of these as we grow and expand ourselves and discover new versions of who we are and what we offer and do in the world. And yes, we are in this phase of our life, and it is a crazy, busy, full on, fiercely protective, healing. Like it is just a wild, wild, wild time. I
Mm.
have no perception of what life could be like outside of this time.
Mm. You're so in it. Yes.
I'm so in it. And yeah, I always get people tell me that maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to slow down. And I actually had a human design reading not that long ago
Mm.
with the incredible Anita Toit.
Mm.
She is incredible and so, so, so beautiful. And it came out that I have, oh my gosh, I'm totally going to butcher this. Sorry, Anita. But she said that, so I'm a manifesting generator and I'm a sacral authority, which apparently means that I have an unlimited energy supply. So
Amazing. What a gift.
yeah. And it means she's like, essentially, you're like an energizer bunny and you just keep going and going and going and going. And so you can literally just go because you have an
Mm.
unlimited energy supply. And I'm like, well, that explains a lot. And yeah, she explained to me why my husband actually needs to sleep and rest and take time. And
Mm.
he moves a bit slower than I do. And he's a non-energy type, meaning he doesn't have an unlimited supply of energy. And so he will borrow energy from me, which is great. But
And those people who are like, maybe you need to take a break, that's their experience of what would that be like to be in your energy and it's overwhelming for them. So they're like, you need to take a break. Well, actually, you just need to step away from her energy for a minute. Let her keep going.
yeah, because yeah. And then also Sagittarius, so I'm a fire sign. So it's like,
Boom.
yeah. There's no
Firecrackers.
there's no break. What's a break? Hmm? Sleep when I die. Thank you very much. Oh, but yes. Yeah, I don't know why I shared that, but it was just there to share.
It
Um,
is. It's a real thing.
uh, Carol, this has been so incredible sharing and speaking with you and I'm so excited that people get to hear and feel your frequency because it is such a loving and beautiful, divine and nurturing energy. And it really is the way you are with me is how you are with everybody.
Thank
And
you. Been
yeah,
so
just
fun. I've really enjoyed our chat and thanks for having me on your beautiful show.
you're
Next time.
welcome. Well, I have to do the last little pieces.
Oh, yes.
Carol, please share where people can find you and how they can work with you. You are currently working one-on-one with people, but you have sites to do more group work and you'll be starting a podcast soon. And I'm just putting all of these things on you right now.
So thank you. People can find me through two ways. So Instagram, it's just at Loving Cocoon, and my website's the same, lovingcocoon.com. You can just email me if you want, Carole at lovingcocoon.com. Reach out and say hello. I'd love to hear from you. It's Carole with an E on the end. And yes, I love working one-on-one with people in intimate chats to really, really help them bring to life their dreams and get out of their own way and whatever that is for them.
Mm,
So yeah, it's just such an honor, and we started, you mentioned group work, I'm feeling into this huge desire for people to also connect with one another in community. So we had that inner circle recently, meeting up with other business owners, and there is a need for that. So I'm exploring what that can look like. I think it will be a hybrid model where there's both one-on-one plus opportunity for connection in
Mm.
a group setting. But yeah, reach out and we can figure out what you need and how I can support you.
Mm. And do you specifically work with business owners or it's just,
It's mostly business owners. I do have some clients who aren't business owners, and it's really mindset, holistic mindset work and support, releasing stuck emotions and limiting beliefs and creating the life they want. Because it's the same, but my long-term clients are business owners.
mm,
Yeah, I'd say like 90, maybe 80% are business owners.
it's amazing. So amazing. Thank you so much, beautiful Carol.